How do realtors and appraisers estimate the value of what a home is worth or what it will be worth? That's the question I'm going to answer today, and I'm going to show you exactly how you could start estimating values accurately yourself. So let's jump into it. I'm Justin Brown, mortgage pro, real estate investor, and I've been doing this a very long time. So here's exactly what you need to know. Also, if you have more questions, want to book a call or have a consultation with me, then click the link below that's in the description or comments. One of the biggest mistakes I see homeowners, investors, and realtors alike make is estimating what the actual market value of a home is. There's sites like Zillow, Redfin, Opendoor that all have their own algorithm and will spit out different estimates within those sites, and sometimes they're way off and sometimes they're actually kind of accurate. But here are the 3 things you need to know if you want to compare and be able to come up with an accurate value yourself. It's the location, the layout, and the condition, and I'm going to break down how to analyze all 3 of these things. So the true definition of value is what somebody is actually willing to pay for something. If you're able to see what other people are paying for similar products, then you get a good idea of what that product is worth. And obviously the more similar that product is, or the most recent that sale was, will give you a better idea as well. But if somebody bought something that's not all that similar, or it was a long time ago, then that makes it tougher to really figure out what it's worth. So in real estate, we call those comparables or comps. So when you're looking at estimating the value of a home, you want to find other sales or other comps. Now you could go on a site like Zillow to search the area that you're looking in to see the recent sales. There's actually an option on the toggle bar where you could drop it down to not just look at homes for sale, but actually look at homes that have sold. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're looking at recent sales. The more recent they are, the more weight they're going to carry, because markets change and they can change fast. So looking at a sale from a year ago really means nothing today. Appraisers and banks will typically only consider comparable sales that have closed in the last 6 months or less to give them any consideration at all. And truthfully, the more recent in time that sale actually was, the more weight it's going to carry when you go to resell your home, if you're going to appraise your home, or you're working with a bank on the value of your home. So personally, I always like to start with sales in the last 90 days or less. And if there's really not much out there, then I'll start expanding out to 6 months. You could actually filter this on Zillow when you're searching. There's a section at the top of the navigation bar that says more, and you could actually drop that down and then scroll to the very bottom where it has a section where you could select the time frame that you want to see sales within. So you could select 90 days or 6 months right there. So now that you've narrowed your search down to only see the recent comps that matter, we need to get into the location or proximity and see why that's so important. So with location, what matters the most is proximity, how close it is to the property you're trying to comp. The closer to your property that comp is, the more weight it's going to carry. So the closer a comp is, the better, because neighborhoods change and they could change drastically, even within a few blocks sometimes. And then looking at things like, does your home back to a busy apartment complex? Is it on a busy or a main street? Is it across the street from a school and there's a lot of traffic around there? All of that matters and definitely has an impact on the overall value. So when you're looking at other comps, you want to make sure that they're close and that they're in similar locations. If yours is on a busy street, then you need to find comps that are on busy streets. And then vice versa. If you see comps that are on busy streets or less desirable neighborhoods, then I wouldn't give those as much weight, or I would try to filter those out. Typically, appraisers and banks only want to see comps that are max a mile out or closer. But in some areas, if there just are no comps, then they will start going a little bit further and further out. But typically in an urban, suburban, or metropolitan area, there's plenty of comps, so you don't have to do that. And again, the closer the comp is, the more weight it's going to carry. So if you see a comp that's a mile out, that's worth way more, and that's what you want to use, but there's one on the same block that's for a lot less, the one that sold for less is going to have way more weight on what your home's worth than that one that's a mile away. But if on the chance you do have to exceed that mile or start expanding your search, make sure you're not moving into different cities or markets. Make sure you're still only looking at homes in the same cities and then in the same market as your home. Okay, so now that you've narrowed down your comps to recent sales that are in similar neighborhoods or locations, close as possible to your home, we need to narrow down further by the actual layout and specs of the home to make sure it's as similar to yours as possible. So now you need to look at the square footage of the comps and make sure you filter that down to have homes that are similar in square footage to yours. You could also do this on Zillow. When you go to that more button, you could click the drop down. There's a section there where you could set the minimum square footage and the maximum square footage of the comps it shows you. I like to keep the comps as tight as possible to the square footage of the home I'm actually trying to value. So on that drop down, on the minimum square footage, put it on the square footage that's closest to the one of the property you're looking at, but just below it. And then on the maximum part, put it just above the square footage of the home you're looking at, or as close as you can to it. For example, if the home I'm trying to comp is 1,300 square feet, on that drop down, you could set the minimum, the closest to it would be 1,250 square feet. And then the maximum you could set just above it is 1,500 square feet. So now it's going to bracket the comps it shows me that are between 1,250 and 1,500 square feet. My home's 1,300 square feet. So I'm only seeing homes that are right around that when I'm looking at the values or when I'm looking at the comps. So now that you've filtered out the square footage, it's going to help narrow down those comps to even better results that are going to give you a better idea of the value. Ideally, I like to see comps with the same bed and bath count as mine, but at the end of the day, if you've narrowed it down by location, by layout, and by square footage, that's going to help you a lot more than only looking at homes that are the same bed and bath count. But obviously, if you do see homes that are the same square footage, same bed bath count, close location, all of that, then that is going to give you the best idea possible. And on the flip side, like a 2-bedroom home usually doesn't sell anywhere near for as much as a 3-bedroom home, but a 3-bedroom home that's the same square footage as a 4-bedroom home doesn't always go for that much cheaper. If you have similar square footage homes, similar areas and all of that, but one's a 2-bedroom versus one's a 3-bedroom, typically that 2-bedroom can vary drastically by how much it'll sell for. But on the flip side, if you have a similar square footage home, but one's a 3-bedroom and the other one's a 4-bedroom, then I don't really see that big of a variance on those price points. Maybe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 depending on the market. But when you're looking at the comps, you should be able to see that and start to determine that. And last, now that you've narrowed down all that stuff on the comps, it's time to look at the condition of the comps. You want to make sure you're looking through all the photos of the comparable sales to see the condition of those and how they compare to your home, or how they compare to how your home's going to look if you're planning on remodeling it or something. So now what you should have left after doing all that filtering is comparable sales that are as close in location as possible, close in layout as possible, and as similar in the condition as possible to the home you want to value. And ideally, when you look at all these comps that are left, you'll be able to get an idea of what the price point is that they're selling for, because they should be pretty similar. And if you're in the Los Angeles or SoCal market and you need some help determining the value of a local property, feel free to reach out anytime. And also make sure to like and subscribe for more real estate, finance, and investing content.